The Gauteng Education MEC Panyaza Lesufi is currently releasing a forensic report into the death of Parktown Boys High School learner Enock Mpianzi. So it's been almost about 2 months since the teenager drowned at a grade 8 orientation camp near Brits in the Northwest Province. The incident raised questions about the safety of learners while in the care of the school and the camp organisers. So the release of the report is taking place at the school there in Johannesburg. SABC reporter Mahlako Komane is there covering that for us tonight. But unfortunately, the media have been asked to leave the room where that report is being released. A very good evening to you once again, Mahlako. Quite disappointing for many who would have wanted to watch that report and exactly what it does say about what happened to Enock Mpianzi. I can hear some journalists still screaming in the background there. Paint a picture for us of what's going on.
Yes, indeed, Criselda, we are here outside. The media has been kicked out. Journalists very unhappy with the current state of the media being kicked out. Now, you'll remember this is not the first time that the Department of Education has conceded to the demands of Parktown Boys parents. We were kicked out a few months ago. I think it was in February that we were kicked out at the Wits, at the Linda Auditorium at Wits, the education campus there. Parents having said that they wanted privacy. Today it's a different story. Parents saying that there were inaccurate reports that were given by the media. We know now that this conversation was sparked by MEC for Education in Gauteng, Mr. Panyaza Lesufi, giving the platform to parents. And I think 7 hands were 7 parents spoke up. One had said that there were parents that were unable to be here, and as a result, they should have also the privilege of getting that information. 6 other parents then stood up and objected to this, citing that there were inaccurate reports in terms of what happened here. But it's also quite concerning because the media was then not given an opportunity and a chance to then air their side of the story, because we understand that in South Africa, the constitution and the democratic dispensation that we live under, freedom of press is quite important, and we are obviously also in a public space. But I am going to be speaking to the Department of Education spokesperson, Mr. Steve Mabona, to just give us an idea as to what happens going forward. Is this now going to be a habit? Because I think also some colleagues here also raising the objection, saying that had this been any other school in a township, we wouldn't have been kicked out. But it seems with Parktown, the rules apply differently. They are handled with kid gloves. Parents here, they make demands and those demands are met. And also, I think we were all expecting to sit in on this report and hear exactly what exactly transpired. Let me just, Mr. Mabona, thank you so much for talking to us. Can you just please tell us, what actually transpired here in terms of parents? Media was invited here. It was not a surprise. They did not pitch by mistake. Satellites were put up, money was spent. What actually happened?
Look, we want to start by apologizing to the media, at its entirety. Look, we didn't anticipate that this will happen, because remember, the previous meeting was more about parents wanting to interact with the MEC, basing themselves on things that they did not understand. As you might have recalled, that at that time, this process of investigation had just commenced. So there were so many questions that parents wanted to understand. And they complained, before that. Some of them, they didn't know what transpired. They had, most of the information they could get from the media. So, which is something that some of the parents were not fond of, to say they, for the first time they got information from the media. And in that meeting, you remember that the question was posed, then the entire hall said no, the media must vacate. But today, we felt that probably because it's the report that is going to be presented, managed by the investigative team, which is the lawyers that we've appointed, release the report. We didn't anticipate that the media will then be barred from this process, because it's not a meeting where there will be a lot of interaction. The report is there, the investigation was done. It's a matter of clarity-seeking questions where parents don't understand on some of the things that they would have been presented by the report. But I said in 3 meetings already where this report was presented, it's straightforward. The lawyers did a lot of, work, which is, commendable, we must say. They did a lot of good work in terms of their investigation. So we were quite puzzled why parents will then want to say the media is not allowed. But we apologize. The very same report we want to undertake, the very same report that is presented in the hall will be presented to the media. MEC will then be in a position to can take you through, and there will be we'll have a process where there's a Q&A, field all the questions that the media will want to address. But honestly, we want to sincerely apologize to the entire media. I mean, we know freedom of, of the press. It's constitutional, accepted, and we respect that, and we sincerely apologize.
While we hear the apology, Mr. Mabona, you raised three, points that I think I'd have to take you on in terms of that, where you say that the meeting today and the previous meeting at the Wits. At Wits was two different meetings. With this one, it was a straightforward report that needed to be released. But we were both in the room there. We were both here in the school hall. This was never an objection or an explanation, perhaps, that the department had given to parents, that this was merely an exercise of releasing a report, that there was nothing necessarily sensitive, that the very same report we're going to get. Why do we then find the media sitting and camping outside here, and a very upset media, understandably so? We were really invited, but why did the department not give that explanation to parents, that this is the same report that will be given to them, that the media will also get?
Well, you might have heard that parents are complaining about inaccuracies, of the media reporting. Like, that's why MEC has already indicated that, look, probably sometimes as the media, we also need to be considerate and, look at how we report, probably what is it that might have agitated these parents so much. Some were raising the issue that they have been taken, pictures already without their consent, which is genuine. Some, they've been saying cameras are, already facing them, and they've not, given permission for them to appear. Some, they said they don't want to appear on TV. So all those elements probably might have agitated parents. I don't know. But we just want to appeal, with the media to say, after this process, we should be in a position to can give you the same report that we're going to be giving to the parents. And moving forward, understandably so, it depends on the sensitivity of issues that are at stake or things that are being reported. So we should be in a position to say, let's update the media, and we should be in a position to can understand each other.
But also, I think another question that I definitely would have to ask Mr. Mabona is the fact that the report remains the same. You keep on emphasizing that the report is the same. Are parents not aware that the report is the same? And when you speak about inaccuracies, how does that come in with the report? The report remains the same. It cannot and it does not change.
Well, as you might have realized, that the MEC went through the agenda of the meeting, and he has already indicated that this is a parents' meeting. Under normal circumstances, a parents' meeting will be convened by the SGB, and the SGB will facilitate the meeting. But in the earlier meeting with the SGB, they said, MEC, please, because this is the meeting that you've called, facilitate the meeting. We'll be there with the other parents. And you must, take in cognizance that this is their meeting, it's a parents' meeting, and if parents, in their majority, they decide to say this is the position that they need, it's important. It's actually, it will be unfair for us as a department to want to push our way and say parents must then concede to what we think it must happen. So where we are sitting, majority rules, like as the MEC has already indicated, because majority of the House, they were even interjecting when the MEC was still trying to explain, to say they were agitated with the media presence, and which is something that really, there was nothing that we could do.
And accusations by the media that it would seem that Parktown Boys parents have a different treatment from other parents.
No, not really. I mean, we treat parents the same. It depends on the issue at stake. I mean, if parents have issues to raise, we need to listen to parents. Remember, 80% of what transpired in all our schools is on the shoulders of the parents. And that report, you will see when it comes out, it has a lot to say on how the SGB managed the entire debacle. It has much to say on how the educators managed this entire debacle. There's much to say on how the entire school community might have, interacted or might have, managed this entire process. So definitely we need to give it an opportunity to be presented, and we should be in a position to can present it in the media space so that the entire country will know on what transpired on the day. But very serious and concerning issues that are raised in that investigation.
All right. Thank you so much. And that was Education in Gauteng, Department of Education in Gauteng spokesperson, Mr. Steve Mabona, saying that parents were agitated. They felt that some didn't want to be on camera, and as well as also clearing up matters, saying that it's not necessarily that parents at Parktown are treated with kid gloves in comparison to other parents, saying that the sensitivity of the matter. And also, I think, throwing it forward a bit as to what we can expect in the report, saying that, the SGB does come under scrutiny in that report, as well as educators. So we will then, Griselda, have to wait for that 1 hour. Earlier spoke to Mpianzi Lesufi, also trying to understand why was it that he did not try and clarify to parents that the same information that they will be getting tonight would have been the same information that everybody would have gotten at the same time. But also, I think Mr. Mabona also just saying that it is a parents' meeting. They will have to abide by the desires and the wishes of these parents at Parktown Boys High.
All right, thank you very much indeed, Mahlako Komane. If the SGB, of course, coming under scrutiny in that report, it will be very interesting to see whether it will be dissolved. We know that the Gauteng Education MEC, Panyaza Lesufi, had earlier said that he would need to look into whether the SGB would need to be dissolved, following, of course, this report which has been released today, the forensic report into the death of the Parktown Boys High School learner Enock Mpianzi. We'll certainly cross to Mahlako Komane once the MEC comes out of that meeting there with parents, where he's, of course, giving them a brief into that report, and we'll certainly bring it to you much later. Delayed, but it will come. Let's take a short break here on The Full View. Much more coming up after the